This video is about 8 national parks for beginners. My name is Ken. I travel in nature about twice a month, and often after I've posted an image, someone may reach out to me and say, hey, I'd really like to go to some of the places you go or see some of the things that you see. But they may not know where to go or how to get there and some of those things. And frankly, it is not that difficult. You don't have to go build a log cabin in the woods and live off the land. And so I thought I'd put this video together for those people who want to participate in the outdoors who may not have a great deal of experience in the outdoors. Number 8, Shenandoah National Park. This park is an hour to an hour and a half from Washington, D.C. You'll probably access this park, most people access this park, through the gateway city of Front Royal, Virginia. That will end up taking you to Skyline Drive, which most things in this park, especially if you're a beginner, are going to be accessible from. Off Skyline Drive, there are a number of hikes. You can hike the waterfalls, you can hike mountains, you can hike meadows. There's just about anything you can access through this park off Skyline Drive. Keep in mind, Skyline Drive is 105 miles long. So you may not want to do this entire thing in one day. If you're going to do the entire park from north to south, you may want to make this a multi-day trip. However, you can do a number of day hikes right off Skyline Drive and not traverse the entire park. There's a number of things you can do in a day and go in and out and see just about everything you need to see in the park. You will probably see quite a few deer, maybe some black bear. If you don't bother them, they won't bother you. The stargazing right around Big Meadows, which is milepost number 51, is absolutely incredible. One of the few places in the United States where you can still see the Milky Way. There's also a campground there. It's actually one of my favorites if you choose to camp. If you don't want to camp, you can spend the night in Front Royal. There are a number of hotels and restaurants there of all varieties, so you can spend your nights there. The park is open year round, but I would go spring and fall. The fall colors, particularly in the fall colors are absolutely beautiful and not something that you should miss. Number 7. Joshua Tree National Park in California. Joshua Tree is about 2.5 hours from Los Angeles, only 3 hours from Las Vegas. And at first thought, you may think, well, this is just out in the middle of the Mojave Desert, and there's really nothing out there. Wrong, 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 wrong. A couple of things to see, actually a number of things to see out here. But keep in mind, one, you're going to access Joshua Tree through a number of gateway cities. One being Yucca Valley, the other being 29 Palms, or you can get there through the town of Joshua Tree itself. In the park, there are a number of cactus gardens, there are rock formations, there's wildlife. You'll have a really good chance to see some bighorn sheep. There's actually a stream in a lake, a small lake, in Joshua Tree where you see a lot of bighorn come to drink in the mornings. The stargazing in Joshua Tree is really good. You'll hear me talk about stargazing a lot because I do quite a bit of astrophotography. There's a campground there called Jumbo Rocks. There are actually a number of them there, but I've spent several nights in the Jumbo Rocks campground. However, you can spend your nights in any of those gateway cities, Yucca Valley, Joshua Tree, or 29 Palms. Hotels and restaurants galore there. There are a number of places where you can stay, especially if this is your first experience. You may not want to sleep out in the desert. I get that. One of the don't misses of this national park is the sunset from Keys View. The view of the sunset from Keys View alone is worth the trip. Number 6, Great Smoky Mountain National Park, North Carolina, Tennessee. The Smokies sit on the North Carolina-Tennessee border. It's about 3 hours from both Charlotte and Atlanta, about 45 minutes from Knoxville. The Smokies are America's most visited park. There are a lot of people that go to the Smokies, although very few of them ever get out of their cars and hike, which is unfortunate because there are a number of really beautiful hikes. You can hike the waterfalls, you can hike mountains, you can do meadows. There are a number of places and things where you can hike and actually get away from a lot of people, because most people rarely travel more than a quarter of a mile from their cars. I would suggest, though, going and watching the sunrise from Clingman's Dome. It is absolutely hypnotic to see the mountain tops and the ridges and the smoke that gives this park its name. It is a really beautiful sight. Plan on seeing a great deal of wildlife. This is the place you go if you want to see wildlife. You'll see elk. In fact, you'll see elk probably in the meadows right in front of the Econolote Visitor Center as you enter the park. Elk were reintroduced to this area a few years ago, and they're done quite well. You will see black bear, and we're having a really good chance of seeing black bear. You'll see deer, you'll see wild turkey, you'll see coyote, you'll see a number of birds. If you're a wildlife enthusiast, I would suggest you take the 11-mile Cades Cove Loop Drive. Quite a bit of wildlife on that. The Smokies are another place where you would want to go in the fall. The last week of October, the first week of November, actually from the second week of October to the first week of November. Absolutely beautiful. You can stay in a number of gateway cities. There's Cherokee, North Carolina, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, Townsend, Tennessee, Sevierville, Dollywood is not far away. So there are a number of places where you can go and experience the Smokies. Number 5, Zion National Park in Utah. Zion National Park is about 2 hours from Las Vegas in southern Utah. The gateway city to Zion is Springdale. There are a number of hotels and restaurants and hostels and shops in Springdale for you to shop, stay, sleep, eat, all of the above. Or there are 2 campgrounds in the national park itself where you can stay. Zion is, at least Zion Canyon, is surrounded by 1,000-foot canyon walls. Absolutely beautiful. There are a number of hikes in Zion Canyon. Zion Canyon has a lot of people, so there is a shuttle system that will take you in and out of the canyon. You cannot drive your car in the canyon itself. You go park your car at the visitor center, and the shuttle bus takes you in and out. There are quite a few of them that run, so it's not an issue to get in the canyon itself. Or you can keep your car and drive down Highway 9, Mark Carmel Road, and there are a number of other sites and hikes in the park as well. There are rim hikes, there are canyon hikes, there is even a Virgin River Narrows hike. Remember, the Virgin River is pretty much what carved all of this. Zion is best seen. It's open again year-round. The winters are actually kind of cold in Zion. Summers are really hot and crowded. So there again, the spring and the fall. You can go in the summer, just remember it's going to be hot and there are going to be lots of people. You can't escape some of the heat if you go into the Call-Up Canyons. There are not nearly as many people that will go up there. I've been to Zion 7 or 8 times and it has never disappointed me. Number 4, Yosemite National Park in California. Yosemite National Park is less than 4 hours from the Bay Area. It's about 2.5 hours from Sacramento. Yes, Yosemite is crowded, but it is absolutely worth the trip. Yosemite Valley might be the most beautiful 7 square miles on this planet, and that is not an exaggeration. Several of the nation's tallest waterfalls, most spectacular waterfalls, are in Yosemite Valley. So please don't let the crowds dissuade you from going. Yosemite has a shuttle system, so you don't want to drive your car through Yosemite Valley. The shuttle system will take you to all of the park's highlights. Just about everything you want to see in Yosemite Valley is accessible through the shuttle system, and they run on a regular basis every 20 minutes or so you don't have to worry about waiting around and missing something. I would say one of the things you don't want to miss is tunnel view. You will sit and stare at that valley for hours on end. If you want to escape Yosemite Valley, go to the Mariposa Grove of trees. This is a grove of giant sequoias, one of the largest and oldest tree species on the planet. There are hundreds, if not 1,000, of these trees here. It will overwhelm you to be in the midst of all of these giants. There are a number of places where you can stay inside and outside the park. If you plan on camping in Yosemite, make your reservations early. Actually, if you're planning on staying outside the park, make your reservations early, because it's one of those places where a lot of people are drawn to Once you see it, you will understand why. Please click the like and subscribe button. I have a lot of content that I would like to upload. Number 3, Grand Canyon National Park in Arizona. I have seen a fair amount of the world, and there are very few things in it that rival the view of the Grand Canyon. Every time I go, and I've been 8 to 10 times, is like the first time. It never gets old. The Grand Canyon is about 3.5 hours from Phoenix, Arizona. However, if you're driving from Phoenix, I would suggest taking a detour and going through Sedona. It is absolutely beautiful in and of itself and worth seeing, and will also help you break up your drive to the canyon. In fact, you may, if you have the time, you might even want to spend the night in Sedona. It's worth that trip. It's worth the side trip. There are several hikes in the Grand Canyon, but just keep in mind that everything that goes down has to come back up, so it'll take you about twice as long to hike out of the canyon as it does to take you into the canyon. There are several rim hikes if you don't want to go down the canyon and then hike back uphill. I would just keep this in mind. Do not try to hike down to the Colorado River and back up in one day. That is a really, really bad idea. There are very few people that can do it, even fewer beginners, and it's not healthy, it's not safe. Don't do that. If you're going to do that, do it in a multi-day trip. There's a shuttle system in the Grand Canyon during the peak season. You can go get on a number of shuttles. It will take you a number of different parts of the park. It will stop at just about every stop or every viewpoint in the canyon on the south rim that you like to go. The north rim does not have a shuttle system. It is not as crowded, and it is actually closed during the winter. The south rim is open year round. There are a number of places where you can camp inside the park. The park has a lot of amenities. There are hotels in the park, there are motels in the park, there's restaurants in the park. Or if you wish to stay outside of the park, within 100 yards of the park gate, there are a number of hotels and restaurants to stay. This is one of the places you might want to see before you leave this earth is the Grand Canyon. Number 2, Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado. This park is about 1.5 hours away from Denver, but it's a world away from Denver. You can access this park through 2 gateway cities. One being Estes Park on the eastern side of the Continental Divide, or Grand Lake on the western side of the Continental Divide. Either way, you can't miss. There's a number of things to see here. There's really so much. The highest road in the United States, which is Trail Ridge Road, will take you across the park through alpine meadows, through forests, through a number of ecosystems. You'll cross the Continental Divide, actually I think twice on this road. There's a lot of wildlife there. There's mountain scenery, there's glacial lakes, there's rivers and streams. The elk rut in the fall and the quaking aspen trees in September and October are absolutely incredible. It's a place, again, where you can stargaze. Hiking is just incredible here. There are hikes of all types. Rocky Mountain National Park is another place that has a lot of people. It is on the reservation system, but that is not difficult. Just go to recreation.gov on the days that you want to, the days that you would like to go to the park, and reserve a time. I think there are 2 or 4 hour increments. Reserve a time to go in the park, and you can get in if during the peak hours. Before then or after then, you can enter the park at your leisure. But do not go to the park during the peak hours if you've not made a reservation. Number 1, my personal favorite, Yellowstone National Park. If you cannot go on an African safari, this might be the next best thing. There are a few places where you can go where I would guarantee that you will see wildlife. I guarantee you'll see wildlife in Yellowstone. Bison, elk, bighorn sheep, black bear, grizzly bear, wolves, bald eagles, coyotes, antelope are seen on a regular basis in Yellowstone. But it's not just that. The world's most spectacular geyser basin, with not just Old Faithful, but a number of other geysers, are right there in Yellowstone. There are rivers, there's lakes, there's streams, there's mountains. There's a canyon in Yellowstone that has an incredible waterfall, the Lower Falls. Yellowstone is huge. And so I would highly suggest that you spend or plan on spending multiple days here. There are a number of cities where you can access Yellowstone at least 3 seasons out of the year. There's Gardner, Montana. There's West Yellowstone, Montana. There's actually, you can go through the Tetons and stay in Jackson, Wyoming. You can stay in Coda, Wyoming. You can stay in Cook City, Montana. At the moment, Cook City and Gardner, Montana, are both suffering from a 500-year flood that they have. But however, those roads are being rebuilt. And by the time you get this, you'll probably be able to access those towns, or at least to access the park through those towns. So don't let that be an impediment to you going to see this place. So that's it. I hope there was something or some place on this list that inspires you to go out and live life like you mean it.